Okay, well, let's take a look here at what we've got in front of us here. We seem to be in Google Sheets. Okay, Google Sheets is something that we worked a little bit with this past, I guess it was Thursday. So I guess one of the things that we are going to be doing is just getting a little familiarization with Google Sheets. It's a very useful program, and as I said on Thursday, it is something that is very invaluable to you, whether or not you're using it in Microsoft in form of Excel or in Google Sheets. I will tell you, a spreadsheet is something that is very essential, oftentimes, for being able to look at data, analyze data, and altogether be able to make heads and tails out of something that may look rather crazy in terms of just a whole bunch of numbers staring at you in the face. So, what you've got in front of you here is a bunch of numbers. Okay. We have individuals here that I have labeled as pickers. Okay. These are all individuals that work for you. You are going to be required to figure out what these people have done. Have they been effective at doing it? And we're going to use Google Sheets to be able to help figure that out. Okay. Now, in remembering what we touched on, it did not seem like a lot of you had a great deal of experience with Google Sheets. So we're going to be touching on that. And I will say that this perhaps might sound harder than what it truly is. So let's play around with a couple of things here. Okay, you can do a number of things with Google Sheets. Some of them are just making things look pretty or cosmetic, but other things are very useful in terms of being able to analyze data. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got here. Um, so we've got our pickers. We're given the number of hours that are being worked. Additionally, if I scroll down, I see that there are locations that have been picked. And then finally, we can see how many units got picked. Okay. Now, just to give you a little lay of the land here, okay, across the top here, you have got a number of letters, the letters of the alphabet. Okay, if you keep going all the way over here to the right, you will start to see that they turn into AA, AB, AC, AD. You can have countless numbers of letters for these columns if you go further to the right side. Okay, additionally, on the left side here, you've got a number of things that are numbered. Okay, so these are your rows. So columns and rows. If I specifically wanted to refer to this cell, I could say the cell that has the word picker in it, okay, which would be correct for right here. But we also notice that this cell right here has the word picker in it, and then this cell right here has the word picker in it, okay? So if we wanted to be really specific, we would refer to this as column A, row 1, or cell A1. Okay, if we wanted to revert to this cell right here, this would be column B, row 1, or specifically, if I click onto this cell right here, this is cell B1. Okay, this is cell C2. This is cell C1, D1, E1. This cell right here is column D, row 6, or D6. Okay, if I go over here, this is column B, row 8, or B8. Okay, and as you kind of notice, Okay, wherever you click at, it will highlight very lightly the column that you were highlighting and the row that you were highlighting. Maybe we should get a different, what does that mean? Oh, there we go. That's it. Okay, so maybe that the highlighting thing isn't the best. Anywho, let's talk a little bit more about what we're going to do here. Okay. So, first of all, these are all statistics that can oftentimes be gotten from the warehouse management system or the WMS. Okay. So, when we look at all these things, I mean, it's got everybody's names here, everybody's names here, and everybody's names here. However, to make things easier, I will say that it would probably make sense if we wanted to actually get all of this information in one area. And specifically, I'd like to get it up into this area here so I don't have to go scrolling down to look at all this stuff. So, first thing that we're going to show you, okay, everybody's name who is up here is also right here, and then right here for the units picked, locations picked, and hours worked. Okay, I want all of this information up here. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to click on cell A16. A16 right here. A16 right there. Okay. Now, I've clicked there. Okay. Now, there are a couple ways that you can do it. You can click here and hold your finger down on a mouse. If you don't have a mouse, that's perfectly fine too. Okay, but regardless, I want you to hold down, if you are looking at your mouse pad, okay, you are going to hold down on it and you are going to highlight all of these cells right here, which is pretty much your range from A16 down to B28. Okay? So everything here should be highlighted. Okay? I am going to, do you see how if I roll the cursor over here, all of a sudden it goes from the cursor to a hand? Okay? I want you to click on this, and this is going to allow you to be able to move it. You can move it over here and you can let go of it, and all of a sudden, everything that you've got that was over here, it's now over here. Let's do that again. Let's drag it on back. There it is. It's still highlighted. I'm going to grab it again and I'm going to move it over. Okay? But here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to move all of this stuff. Again, just make sure it's all highlighted. I'd like to move all of this stuff up here. Okay, so we can see it all in one place. And you can see the hand when you get to any part, the left side, the top part, the bottom part. Okay, and you can drag it up. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag it from down here and I'm going to bring it all the way up here and then I'm going to let go. Boom. Okay, so we have Jaden's hours worked. We have Jaden's locations picked. We have Mike's hours, Mike's locations. Okay, so that's good information. Let's get all this stuff down here starting in column A, row 31, and get it up to the top. Okay, so I'm going to, again, highlight. I'm clicked into A31 right here. And then I'm going to highlight all of this information right here. Okay, so it's all highlighted. It's there. I've got my little cursor thing that's moving around here. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drag it on up here. Okay, I could put it over here. It'd be nice if I got it right here. Okay, but all of a sudden, actually, I'm going to put it right here. Okay, I put it right here. So I've got all my stuff all up here at the top. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, I notice, oh, wait a second. I've got something. I've got a space right here. I don't really want that space here. I'd really like it all butted together. Now look, it looks like the word picked is in cell E1. I'm going to click on cell E1 right here. E1 does not show anything being right up here in this area, okay? If I click on any of these cells, it automatically shows up in this area right up here. If I click here, it's an 8.1. If I click on the word Rex, Rex is showing right there. If I click on the word Shayna, it's going to be Shayna right up there, okay? So if it looks like the word picked is in this cell right here, it's not, okay? Cell D1 has the words locations picked, okay? Now they don't all fit into the cell as it stands right now, okay? So this is just kind of overflow text. And if you look over here at B1, it's got hours worked, okay? And specifically, hours worked is all in this one. It would like to be able to be in a bigger cell, but we'll get to that in a little bit here, okay? But for now, I've got a little issue here, okay? Column E has nothing in it, okay? I can go all the way down. I can arrow down, and nothing is showing up here, okay? I can keep arrowing down. And nothing is in any of these fields. First of all, I want to get rid of column E. Okay, I'd like it to be all together, all of it back to back. Okay, so I'm going to highlight column E, and you can highlight that by merely clicking right up there, up at the top. Column E. Okay, now you can imagine that I've got this hand. I could actually drag this entire column over here. I could, okay? But that doesn't get rid of it, okay? Doesn't get rid of it. Here's what I want to do. I want to highlight column E, and then I am going to right click. You can do this with a mouse. You can do it on your mouse pad, but I want to right click it. Okay, if you take a look at it, I get all sorts of things that pop up when you do this. Right click, okay? I can cut it, I can copy it, I can paste it, I can do all sorts of things. But the thing I'm interested in here, oops, I somehow added something. I didn't really want to add anything. So the nice thing about Excel or Google Sheets is you can hit this undo button, and lo and behold, there it is. I got rid of my adding in a column, okay? But I've got column E. I'm going to right click it. I am going to delete the column. Delete the column, okay? Now, I have everything here that I want, okay? I've got my picker's name. I've got the hours worked, and their locations that they've picked. I've got their name again, and I've got their units picked. Everything picker-wise is in a nice order right here, okay? Here's what I want to do. I want to now, since it's kind of repetitive and it doesn't really mean anything to me, so here's what I'm going to do. I want to be able to, what am I going to do now? I want to get rid of all these extra names, okay? Because I'd like to have it just so I could see Jaden's hours worked, Jaden's hour or Jaden's locations picked, and Jaden's units picked. And one way that I can do that is to delete this second repetitive column right here. Okay, I'm going to delete the column. And then all of a sudden, everything moves over. Now, I deleted column C. Okay, we'll take a look at it when we do that again, but we deleted. I'd like to now come over here and highlight everything in column D, and I would like to delete that. Okay, I'm going to right click. I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to delete that column again, right there. Boom. So now everything is all nice and close together. Now, as you notice, I've still got some things that are not really very, I've got some overflowing types of things. One of the things with Excel is you can actually make the cells bigger than what they actually start out as. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I want to be able to stretch this column, make it wider so I can see all of these words right here. I can see not just hours were, okay, but I want to see hours worked, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go up here to the column. Now, as opposed to grabbing the entire column or highlighting this entire column, okay, I could do that. Okay, I could highlight it. I can do that. Or I can simply come up here to where it's at, and I can get my cursor over the column dividing line right here, and it turns into that two-way arrow. I'm going to click on this, okay? And it comes up like so, and I am going to move it to the right. And then all of a sudden, I can see all of the words hours worked. I'm going to do the same thing for column C. I'm going to make it wider. I'm going to move it over to the right. And then all of a sudden, all three of these columns can have everything seen. Maybe I don't like the fact that I've got this little extra space right here. Maybe I want to move it back just a little bit. Okay, I can move it back. Maybe I want to do the same thing over here. Boom, I can do that. Maybe I like this one being over a little closer. I can do that. But you can do that by all simply grabbing this dividing line between the individual columns. Okay? Now, I can see all of my information, okay? And at this point, we are going to do some things that are, we're going to work a little bit with some of these numbers here, okay? Now, I think the very first thing that I would like to have you do is, if you were the supervisor of the picking department here, I guess what I'd like to see all of you do is to figure out how many hours all of your people worked. Okay? All of your people worked. So there's a couple of things that we can do. We can whip out the calculator and add all of these things up. We can go all the way down. You see, as I'm arrowing up and down, all of the numbers up here are changing. Okay. And you can go up and down. You can also go down by hitting the Enter key once, twice, and you move down to the next cell. Okay. But I'm interested in summing everything up. Okay. And that's where we're going to make a formula. Okay. I'm going to do things perhaps a little bit lazy here. Okay. I touched on some of this on Thursday, but here's what I'd like to have you do. Okay. I would like for every single one of you to be able to sum these three columns up. Okay. And I want you to put your results in this column, in this column, and this column. And that means adding up all of these numbers and summing them up down in these three cells right here. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. Just because I want to see things a certain way, okay, maybe I'm your boss, okay, I'm going to highlight these three cells. Again, clicking here, holding down on the cell or the left side of your mouse pad, and then I'm going to drag over this way right here. So all three cells are now All three of these cells are now highlighted. Okay, I'm going to go up here and I want to click on this word up here, this little grid up here. It says borders. Okay, I'm going to click on borders. Okay, and it gives me an opportunity to do every type of imaginable border that there could be. Okay, I could put I could get borders around all the sides of this. I could get borders on just one side of every single cell. I could get a border on just the top part of every single one of those three cells. But I'm interested in this right here. Okay, I could also do it where there's just a border around the outside of all three of these cells. But I'm interested in getting something around every single corner of every single cell. So I'm going to hit this right here. I've clicked on this. This pops up, and I'm going to click on this right here. Okay, and lo and behold, take a look. I have got every single one of these cells now has a border on it. Okay, this one, this one, this one. Okay, and I want everybody to do that. So everybody's Google Sheet should look exactly more or less just like this. Okay, maybe it's not, maybe it's a little bit longer. Okay, but here's what I'd like you to do. Okay, now that we have all three of these cells, or all three of these columns having highlighted, or pardon me, having borders around all of them right here, Mr. Skeen is one of these people that likes to have everything just the exact same way. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to highlight, I'm going to left click and highlight the first one. I'm going to drag over to the right. And now all three of these columns are identically highlighted. They're all highlighted. Okay, however, if you notice, take a look here. Okay. Column B is wide. Column C is wider than column B, it looks like, just from my glancing at it. And then column D is another width. So here's what I'm going to do. You can grab any one of these borders up here. Okay, you can do it, and you can get the double arrow to show up at any of these borders. And here's what I'm going to have you do. You can do it over here, you can do it over here, but it's going to affect all three of these columns because all three of these columns are the same. I generally grab one in the center here, but here's what I'm going to do. All three columns are highlighted, still highlighted. I'm going to grab the border. I'm going to left click and hold down on that. And I'm going to move it all again over to the right. Look at that. Every single column is now identically the same width. Okay, this is now the same as that and same as that. Okay, and you can do that. Heck, I could even highlight this column over here. I'm going to highlight all three of them now. And I move it just a little bit, but now look at them. All three of these, all four of these highlighted columns are the exact same size. Okay, but I don't like how all the pickers' names are all the same. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this one right here and move it back because I don't think I like the way that looks. Okay, so I'm going to move it over, and then all of a sudden I've got all this. Okay, now here's also what I want you to do. I want you to highlight these three columns again. Okay, and we're not going to screw around with the width this time. Okay, however, I want you to get all of these numbers that are now all the way over at the left side. I want you to move them to the center. I want these to be centered. Everything in all of these cells, I want their information to be dead center in every single cell. So here's what I'm going to do. All three columns are highlighted. And with that being done, I'm going to go up here where you see this, where it says horizontal align. And again, horizontal is left to right. Okay, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this little drop down right here. I can have it so everything is currently over to the left where it's at right now. I could go where everything is over at the right, where it is right now, or I could click it again and I could make everything in the center. Here's what I want it to look like right now. Everything is centered in these columns right here. Okay, now let's go back here to our column B. Okay, specifically column B14, or pardon me, cell B14 right here, B14. Okay, so B14 is right there. Here's what we're going to do next. I want these hours worked summed up, every single one of them here. I could whip out a calculator, I could do it, but that defeats the purpose of using a spreadsheet, because a spreadsheet is going to be a great deal easier to manipulate once you actually have information right in front of you, okay, in a spreadsheet. So here's what we're going to do. I want to sum this up, okay? This thing over here, okay, this thing that looks like a number 3, okay, it is actually a Greek letter. A Greek letter that is, believe it or not, the Greek letter sigma, okay, sigma, okay? Now, when you get over here, if you click on this drop-down menu right here, click it, you can do all sorts of things. Let me get Mr. Skeen out of the way here, okay? Here, I'm still important. We'll just put me right there. How about that? Okay, so I'm going to go over here to my sigma, or the function button up here along the ribbon of the very top here of your Google Sheet. I'm going to click on it, and you can see all sorts of things it can do. It can sum, it can average, it can count, it can figure out which is the biggest number or the maximum number. Additionally, it can tell you the smallest number, okay? We're going to screw around with some of these things up here, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to highlight all of this, but before I'm doing anything up here with this, I want you to take a look down here, down here. Look at this. There is something down in this lower right-hand corner where it actually, if you look at it here, you can click on a whole bunch of things. You can get any sort of number that you might want to look at that is going to, and you can get it to show up here. I can click down here and it will give me the average of everything that I have highlighted. It can give me the count of how many things I have highlighted. And then it can also tell me the minimum, the smallest number of all the things I have highlighted. It can also tell me the maximum, which is 8.1 right here. It makes it a little bit easier to be able to see what you've got highlighted, okay? So here's what we're gonna do, okay? I want to sum this entire column, okay? Now, I could figure out the results by clicking on sum, and I could figure out that the sum of it is 83.675, and that would be my answer for right here. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to create a formula, okay? Now, this formula is very easy to do, and we can do it by simply coming up here to my sigma, or my functions button, okay? Click on the drop down, and I'm going to click on this word sum, okay? Let's go back. I'm going to undo this. Should have probably brought your attention to it. So I'm going to make sure I'm clicked into cell B14. I am going to click the sum button. Okay, there's nothing in this field right now. I'm going to click on sum, and then all of a sudden, look at this. Something has popped up right there. It is a formula, or at least the beginning of a formula. Okay, and literally it says equals sum, and then there are some parentheses, okay? it says right here, use the arrow keys to select the range, okay? So here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to click this up here now. Right now, this formula down here is telling me that the sum of this cell, that's my formula, okay? That's kind of a boring formula because basically it's not even a sum. But if I click into this cell right here, and then I drag down, okay? I drag down, okay? This right here is the sum of B2 to B3. B2 to B3. So it's summing these two things, and the result is going to show up down here. Okay, I could click back into this one up here, and I could drag down even further. This is going to show me the sum of B2 to B7. Now, specifically, I am interested in all of these. So I'm going to click on B2, and I am actually now going to drag down or highlight all of them right here. And now, all of a sudden, I'm going to get the sum of B2 to B13. This is a range of cells that I am getting a sum of, B2 to B3, okay? At this point, I want you to hit enter, okay? And lo and behold, this number matches when I highlight those 12 cells right there. My formula right here in B14 is the same, 83.67. Notice that it doesn't show 86 or 83.67 up here. It doesn't show that, okay? It shows the formula. So click into this field right here and notice the formula that we've just gotten done creating, okay? Now, let's just say I wanted to do that for this column right here. Now, I'm going to click into C14. But as opposed to using this function up here, which is very easy, and I encourage you to use this all the time. But just to show you something else, you can actually create this by merely typing it out. You can hit the equals sign, okay? And then you can hit a parentheses. Now, Google is very friendly, so it starts to give you some ideas on what you could type in, okay? But I'm going to type in the parenthesis, and then I'm going to click on cell C2, okay? And I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did over here in column B. I'm going to highlight all of this, and lo and behold, I've just made my range. Okay, maybe I only concerned about a couple cells. It could be, and that could be my formula, but no, I could go down here. Okay, so I've got that, and then I'm going to put in my right parentheses. And all of a sudden, if I hit enter, oops, let's do that again. Mr. Skeen kind of screwed up there. Okay, I'm going to backspace. Oops, I did not actually type that. Okay, so I've got my, oh, wait a second. Huh, something's screwy here. It's not giving me the sum. What's going on? It's just giving me this range. Oh, wait a second. Over here, I typed in, or the function inserted the word sum. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Okay, I need to add something to my formula. I need to add the word sum. You can do it in uppercase, lowercase. Google Sheets doesn't care. Okay, I've typed in my word sum, and then I've got this range right here. Now let's hit enter. Oops, wait a second. Sum SQ. No, we don't care about that. Okay. Beautiful thing about Excel is if you don't like what you're getting originally, you can always, it gives you a hint. You can just click on the word sum right here. Okay. And then it shows up right there. Okay. So my sum right here is 5,207 locations picked. Okay. Now, we're not done. We got one more column to do. Let's say I'm really lazy. Mr. Skeen's lazy. I encourage all of you to be lazy. However, you need to make sure you're doing things correctly. So let's go back here. I'm going to highlight C14 again. But as opposed to using the function button up here and clicking sum, okay, I'm not going to do that. So I'm clicked in here to C14. I could use that. I could type it in, what I just did. It's a little bit buggy when you do it typing, unless you know exactly what you're doing or taking your time doing it. But here's what I'm going to do. I am going to highlight C14 right here, and I'm going to come down to the lower right-hand corner of the cell. And look what happens all of a sudden. If I go a little bit higher in the cell, I get the hand. Okay, if I go in the center, I get the cursor. But if I go into the lower right-hand corner, right on top of this square, okay, I am going to all of a sudden get something that looks like a cross. Okay, I want you to get to the point where you are on the cross, and I want all of you to be able to, when you have the cross, I want you to left click and hold. Left click and hold. And then I am going to drag to the right and then let go. Aha, very nice. Okay, so now let's click into cell D14 and see what happened. Oh my gosh, I've dragged my formula from this cell and I wanted it to be exactly the same as this cell right here, but applying to column D. Okay, so let's undo that one. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, get it to the cross, and I am going to drag to the right. Okay, my formula here in C14 is C2 to C13. If I click over here to D14, let's take a look at the formula. It's now D2 down to here, okay? Now, those of you that have function buttons, okay, you could go right here, click into it, and hit F2, and it shows up, okay? But if you don't have a function button, I want you to click, but then click it again. Do a quick double click. Okay, and then lo and behold, it shows you what the formula, I mean, it kind of gives you a graphic representation of what it is. Okay, so your assignment for today is to get me this right here. Get me this right here. Okay, and then I want you to send it to me. I want you to get all of this information up in this corner up here. Okay, and using columns A, B, C, and D, I want you to give me the sum totals in B14, C14, and D14. Okay, I want you to do that for me, and I'm going to say I'm going to stop right now.